Hi, it's Rucha Trivedi with the Virtual Clarinet Academy. Let's talk Altissimo G. There are so many different fingerings for Altissimo G, and it's hard to know when you should use which one. So let's take a minute and talk through a couple different options for high G and when it's appropriate to use each one. So first of all, like with any Altissimo note, you want to make sure that you have the right kind of voicing, good air support, and a really compact embouchure up here with corners in. Any kind of lower jaw pressure is going to cause biting, and it's going to make that note kind of hard to come out. If you want more tips on how to tame your Altissimo, we have a video about just that, so you can click the link in the description box below to take you to that video. All right, the first high G fingering that I think will be useful is going to be what I call middle school G. It's called middle school G because that was the first G that many of my students learned when I lived in Texas, and even now it's the first G that many students learn. I find that the pitch on this G, especially on my horn, is really, really sharp. But if you have a hard time getting the pitch up to be in tune for high G, this might be the right choice for you. So here's the fingering for this high G. It's thumb register in the back, 2, 1, 2, and then the A flat, E flat pinky key right here. This is what we call middle school G. Here's what it sounds like. Apparently my dog didn't like that. I don't know if you can hear him barking. But that's middle school G. Appropriate for use whenever you're sustaining a note, whenever you feel like you're going to be a little bit flat and you want to bring the pitch up, that's going to be a good choice for you. Second option is Chromatic G. Chromatic G is actually the very first high G fingering that I ever learned, and I didn't even figure out any other fingerings until I was in college, just because this one worked so well for me. This is a derivative of the F sharp fingering. So it's going to be thumb register, 2, and then this pinky key here. This is our traditional fingering for F sharp. But what we're going to do is add side 4, the bottom side key here, to get to G. Here's what this one sounds like. This one's a little bit lower in pitch than the middle school G, but you can always bring it up by hitting the sliver key, banana key, whatever, chromatic key, whatever you want to call it. You can hit that with your ring finger to bring the pitch up. Here's what that sounds like without, and then I'm going to add it. I think you can hear when I'm using it and when I'm not. It does help bring the pitch up. You can use that for F sharp as well to help bring the pitch up. This chromatic G is useful obviously in chromatic scale. If your high limit is high G, just hit that chromatic side key or the side key on the side here and then come back down. It's going to make it a lot easier than trying to transition up into the next register and then transition back down. I also use it in my G scale when I'm playing up to 3 octaves. I hit that chromatic or that side key and then I come back down. So that's side key G. The next high G fingering that might be useful is the Arpeggio G. This one's a little bit tricky because it's the fingering for B, clarion B, that's thumb, register, and 1, plus this side key here. So it's really just overblowing and trying to get the next partial up on this B. This is useful when you're playing arpeggios, the end of the Beethoven 8 trio excerpt from the 3rd movement where you have to end on a really beautiful soft high G. It's really, really tricky to do. This is the fingering that I use on that excerpt. And just when you're playing something that just you need to kind of transition quickly from like D to G. So here's what that high G sounds like. Again, check everything with a tuner just to make sure the pitch is going to work for you. But it's a little bit lower on my horn, but when I'm playing it really, really softly, it tends to work really well. There are lots of other fingerings for high G. I encourage you to kind of mess around and see what's going to work best for you. I gave you 3 options that I use regularly, but there are so many other options out there. Just make sure you work with a tuner. Make sure that you're considering all the things we need to know for Altissimo notes in general. And it's fun exploring up there. It's fun to make up your own fingerings and see what works for you. Sometimes my students will show up with a new fingering and I'm like, huh, I never even thought of that one. So happy practicing to you and good luck with your Altissimo Gs.